You are listening to Rouge Radio, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
It's time to get the point as Rouge Radio is ready to kick off.
Ready!
The best football talk with the best in the business.
So what is the cost? You have 2 first-round picks this year because the Argos are dumb enough to trade for Drew Willie.
A few rookies.
We go directly to the on-field product. We welcome to the show the 20th overall pick in this past Sunday's CFL draft, DeAndre Wright of the Alouettes. DeAndre, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
And the occasional Hall of Famer.
Please welcome Doug Brown, who is one of the members of the current class of 2016 in the CFL Hall of Fame. Doug, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thank you guys for the kind words and for having me on the program.
Rouge Radio is on the air. Here's your hosts, Robert Dalton and Tony Allen.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Rouge Radio Podcast, episode 439, powered by the Canadian Football Podcast Network. My name is Robert Dalton. If you're watching this, you can see my Twitter handle. And to my right or left, depending on how it is, Mr. Tony Allen, as you can tell by his Twitter handle, Mr. @Tony Rouge, who is in the town of
Tabor.
Oh, Tabor. Okay, you're back.
Tabor, Alberta.
McCain Fry. Oh, okay.
They have a McCain's factory here.
Nice. And as we were saying off the air, I don't think that we've ever, I don't think this town of Tabor, Alberta, has had more press than they've had from our podcast. So.
I am like an unofficial representative of Tabor, apparently.
You should
online.
become mayor. You don't have to work as an electrician. You should just become mayor of Tabor.
And I would, but Tabor's a very lovely town. It's small. It's like one of those towns you would see on the news whose mayor has been a dog for like 30 years, and its puppy becomes mayor after him, and you can't compete with a dog as a mayor. So, the right honorable Cletus, the yellow golden retriever, has been mayor here since he preceded his father, Jethro, the golden retriever.
The Tabor mayor lineage goes back like 100 years, but in dog years, it's like 700, right?
Yeah. A golden retriever has been the mayor of Tabor since 1957.
Oh, and you know what? Watch it. We're going to bring up some great hot takes tonight, and people are going to take that one topic.
Oh, they're going to remember now.
And someone's going to actually edit the town of Tabor's Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
Population 500. Mayor spot.
Yeah.
We've got a great show. Obviously, if you caught her live, make sure that it is posted on YouTube, so you can catch it if you haven't yet. We love doing that, though, that live interaction, though not a lot of people jumping in to interact, or at least we haven't figured out how to do it. I know some people were tuning in as we were live broadcasting, so that is kind of a cool thing to do. But first, let's get to Global Rouge 2.0, or are we calling it Global Rouge 2.0 or just Global Rouge right now? I mean, that's
I don't know. I haven't heard much about Global CFL lately, so maybe we're the only global division left of Canadian football. So we get it all to our own. We 2.0.
There we go.
We own Global Rouge.
All right, let's get to the top countries that are listening to the Rouge Radio podcast. Let's get the drum beat. We've got your Canada, United States, Bermuda, Australia, a whole bunch of spiders listening to us, France, Germany, United Kingdom, Kenya, Mexico, and Switzerland. And we love Switzerland because the flag's a huge plus. Nice little hashtag dad joke there.
Can
top
you dig
cities. Oh, jeez. Winnipeg. Top cities: Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton, Toronto, Lethbridge, Regina, Surrey, St. Albert, Brandon, Manitoba, and we've hit the Northwestern Territories. Whitehorse, Yukon. You know who is not on the top cities? The town of Tabor. I don't know. Like, are you not like passing the word?
Maybe when I downloaded the show, I was at a coffee shop in Lethbridge or something, and that they got credit for it, not Tabor. I'll see if I can change that next week.
All right. Well, looking forward to it. I'm going to hold.
You can also just lie. Nobody's going to know. Just lie. Just straight out. Number 2, man. Tabor.
All of a sudden, Tabor is just coming up the list right behind Winnipeg. Great. Okay.
It's going to trend. Eventually, by the end of the CFL season, we're just going to have Tabor trending. And the only thing trending is going to be the picture of a yellow lab, golden lab, with a Rouge Radio t-shirt on and that little necklace thing that mayors wear. And that's going to be, as the Right Honorable Bubba, the Golden Retriever, is a big fan of. It has...
The Tabor's Wikipedia page is there's no crest, right? It's just our logo.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get to first before we get on. Obviously, if you're watching, you can see the ticker bit.ly/Rouge Radio -bet US. Promo code JOIN125 is their affiliation with their good friends at betus.com. They will match up to 125% of your first deposit. And again, Tony and I, myself, we stress gamble responsibly, please. Let's get to the 3 down hot takes. And of course, this is sponsored by SeatGiant.ca. Enter the promo code Rouge for discounts on sporting events in your area. And this could be Disney on Ice when they come back. And we joke. It's not. It doesn't, Michael Bublé, Cirque du Soleil, what have you. But you know what? Stanley Cup Finals are ending pretty soon. I don't know what's going on in Game 3 right now. No spoilers. But CFL season is just getting started. We have 9 stadiums that are just yearning just to put your butt in the seats. Might as well shop a little bit local through SeatGiant.ca and pay a little bit less with the discount by entering Rouge on the through SeatGiant.ca. First off, on the docket of one of the big hot takes, Saturday morning it was revealed prior to the doubleheader that Mark Korte of the Edmonton Elks was getting married on game day. Like, who does that? Now, you and I believe we're both married, happy wife, happy life, right? We understand that takes precedence over our situation. And a lot of people are like, okay, well, we don't know the whole situation. And that's true. We don't know. Obviously, Chris Jones, it has been reported that Chris Jones was aware of it, but there is still the fact that, listen, you possibility, and I only say this by virtue because there are a couple of guys who have been in the locker room recently, Eddie Steele, Justin Sorensen, who have been with the Edmonton Elks in the years past, that it's kind of like, well, you've got years to plan this. You probably would have assumed that you probably have at least a game that week in June, or at the very least practice, right? I mean, who knows? You're counting your chickens before they hatch, or your eggs before they hatch, if you're depending on a bye week to be happening at that point. But I mean, where do you sit on this? Because myself, I'm like, okay, everybody within that locker room understands, but people who have been in the locker room just kind of like, dude, you let your team down. And I can go either way. I mean, I'm on the fence right now. Are you on the fence? I mean,
no, I'm not really on the fence. And I'm a big believer in sports being not as important in real life. Real life is more important than sports. Family's more important than sports, all of that. However, when I'm getting married in my career at the time I got married, I didn't know what a year from that day was going to be like. My wife and I essentially got married pretty much the year to the day of when I proposed. And I had just graduated from college. I didn't have a career yet in my chosen field. I didn't know where I was going to be, and I'd know that once it got to there, I'd probably have to book days off, same as my wife. When you're a football player, not even with a hockey player, like I don't even think a hockey player, his is still pretty good, but when you're a football player, pretty much from June to November, you're going to be busy with work, and you know it's going to be Friday, Saturday, Thursday, maybe a Monday if you get married on Labor Day. Like, you can pinpoint that pretty accurately, I think. And I don't know. That's, to me, that almost seems intentional. Like, you have to try and book it on a day that's going to conflict. When you only work one day a week, I think you can work around it. There's a lot of excuses, but at the end of the day, I think you can work around it. Well, it's the only day we could get that church. We'll maybe go somewhere else. Or maybe they can help you out. Maybe explain the situation. Maybe find something. Like, we all want the perfect wedding, but I don't know. That you almost have to, it almost comes across like, I'm going to do this in spite of my work. And if I happen to pick the one Saturday when I'm playing a game, well, it's like, I don't know, like, to hit it right on a game day, I don't know. I don't think I can say, oh, well, it's all about, real life is more important than sports. Like, yeah, but you still book it's still a job, and you still kind of book your life around your job. Like, I don't just book stuff and then go into work and say, listen, I've decided to do this. You're going to have to figure out something for me to not be there. You still work around sports. In this case, it's still your job.
Yeah.
And
no.
I think this one falls under, come on, guy. Like, come on. Like, come on. You could have avoided that. I mean, like 98% chance you could have avoided that if you had just tried. But
yeah, you said work one day a week, and I think that just kind of, because you got practice, right? You come to work. You might have Monday off, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, practice.
We're talking about practice. About practice, but
Friday is the walkthrough, or you might not even have a walkthrough on Friday, but you've got all that. You have game day, business trip is what they always say. I don't know. It's just, I know what they say: happy wife, happy life, because it very well could have been his new fiance who said that it was either this or that. I mean, we honestly don't know. The good thing is that Chris Jones was okay with it, so it's not like it caught him off guard. The what was I going to say? The oh my God, everything all just completely just messed up here on my train of thought. Like they're doing on live camera. But it's true what they say: happy wife, happy life. And got a little kid just going around there. Nice. Now she's going to be a YouTube
she wasn't
star.
naked. That would be the most. No. That would be the most internet thing to happen. We would be internet famous. We'd be on the news as naked girl runs through podcast video.
But yeah, I know that they say happy wife, happy life, and whatnot. And it's just we don't know. But the one thing is that we can end this kind of portion on a joke kind of thing is Chris Jones does everything. He could have been the minister at the wedding. They could have done it at halftime. It's like, do you, what's your face, take Mark to be your lawfully wedded husband? And she says, I do. Just say I do, because we're getting our asses handed to us by the riders. We need to come back at this point. Anything else before we move on? No. Nope. All right. Okay. The game before that, there was a game between the there she goes again, the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the Calgary Stampeders. Some minor controversy. Dane Evans, I can't remember if it actually caused a turnover, but he was given a it was tackled, taken down by a horse collar. It was called a penalty. It was called a horse collar on the field. Dave Dickinson challenged it. The play on the field stood, and Hamilton regained possession and I forget what they even did with it. I don't even think they did anything with it much more than a field goal. But the question is, because that was a huge momentum, almost momentum shift, because Calgary eventually did come back, so it didn't really matter. But horse collar tackle, is it your opinion?
When I saw the play, I called a horse collar. As soon as I saw the play, I was like, oh God, that could be a horse collar. Like I was expecting it. And when the penalty came down, I had expected it. So all I was upset at is that the guy made the tackle like that. And it left it open to it. I didn't think it was 100%. I didn't straight like that's 100% a horse tackle, but I saw where he got him. And then Evan went down awkwardly. And just like they referenced on the podcast, I immediately thought of Kenyon Rambo. So I'm like, I'm not going to take the stamped colored glasses on this one. Player safety is first. So I was fine with it. Dave challenged it, and I was fine with it as well, because once they explained where they grabbed Dane Evans on the name bar, well, it got me interested enough that I went on the internet and started looking up horse collar tackles. What is the definition of horse collar? What is the CFL's rule book definition of horse collar? And I couldn't find it in the CFL book, but every definition of horse collar tackle I could find was essentially a grabbing of the jersey or shoulder pads at the top or inside the shoulder pad. No definition I could find on the internet said grabbing high on the jersey. I think the closest thing I came above or at the name bar. And that was at the name bar.
Yeah.
But I suppose it's how it's defined by the Canadian Football League. But at the name bar was about the closest I could think. So I thought Dave had a good challenge. At the end of the day, am I upset? No, because player safety is always the most important. So for me, I'm not going, as much as a Stampeders fan as I am, I'm not going to put a player's safety or the future other players in jeopardy just because my team got a penalty. Whether I agree with the horse collar or not, I don't, after looking for as many definitions of horse collar as I could find, I don't think it meets the requirements of a horse collar. Am I fine with the penalty? Yes, because a player's safety is what the priority. And if the league believes it's protecting the player and to get horse collars out of there, then I am absolutely fine with them making the call.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that one. By the rule, even if we are able to find, I'm trying to find it right now through CFLDB, but it's like horse collar is a added term to unnecessary roughness almost, or major foul. But as we heard on the broadcast, are we going to be that upset? Because based on that, I mean, that's what I saw too when I was looking it up on Saturday, is that the name bar was kind of the standard. Are we going to be bent out of shape by a couple of inches? I mean, or maybe 1 or 2, depending on where because the action was still the same. Evans goes back and then eventually to the front. And then Kenyon Rambo, you brought him up. That is pretty much the reason why horse collar tackles were a thing. Is a rule in the CFL. So, I mean, to the letter of the law, was it a horse collar? Maybe not, but I think you nailed it. Player safety is pertinent to this league, and that's the kind of stuff. Like, I know that everybody's going to be like, okay, well, if you're going to allow that, you might as well allow Simone Lawrence to go headhunt. And like, well, it's kind of not the same thing, because this is almost career. Well, okay, I guess that would be career ending almost too, but I think
too, when you look at that play, it wasn't the horse collar that brought Dane Evans down. It was a grab of the jersey. He put his hand around his neck, which could also be dangerous anyways. So whether the penalty was not called on the horse tackle, it was still a high tackle because he got his hand around his neck and then brought him down like that. So at the end of the day, I don't think it was a horse collar, but it was still a high dangerous tackle anyways that resulted in that could have ended in a possible injury because of the way he was taken down just with the high tackle around the head. So
Yeah.
all around, I think the officials had the right call, and everything ended properly.
Yeah. And to play devil's advocate, if they didn't call it, I think we probably might have been okay with it. I like, it's hard to say, right? Dane Evans continued to play in the game. It was challenged. It was, the ruling on the field stood, but it was close. So if they would have not have called it, I don't know if there's a lot of people getting angry over that as well. But I mean, it's really tough to sell. I mean, hindsight's 2020. Next hot take. We got our first vision of this new rule, and the new rule is obviously as you could see on the screen, the new 2 and out kind of thing, right? You get a combination of 2 misconducts or unnecessary roughness post whistle, and you're rejected from the game. And we had our first in week 2, Derek Moncrief for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. First off, before we get our thoughts on this one, I really I like this rule, but I hate it because I always go back to Brandon Banks in week 1 last year. Brandon Banks throws a ball, means to hit the throw to the official, ends up hitting a bomber, flag, unsportsmanlike conduct or misconduct. Had this rule been implemented last year, Brandon Banks, I mean, luckily he was irrelevant in the rest of the game that time, but he was lucky that if he had another one, he would have been ejected. And Ottawa and Winnipeg, Rasheed Bailey gets tackled. I don't know. He says something. There's 3 red blocks around him. He gets flagged for misconduct. He gets one more and he's ejected. I just think that the misconducts are kind of like I don't know if it's a gray area, but you better be sure that 100% that they earned that misconduct penalty, because if they get another one or even unnecessary roughness post whistle, that's an ejection, and you're really, really taking it out on a team because you might not have been sure. And to make this, because everybody in Canada loves hockey, let's put this into perspective. Let's say, we'll use the Calgary Flames. Let's say the Calgary, because I want you to be a little bit more heated. Let's say the Calgary Flames. Let's say Matthew Tkachuk swings for the puck, touches the puck, and Connor McDavid trips. He falls. He doesn't get tripped, but they call a tripping penalty. Okay, well, that's fine. Let's kill off the penalty. It shouldn't have been a penalty, what have you. While on the penalty kill, Johnny Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey, shoots the puck out. Boom. Out of over the boards, over the ice, into the fans. Delay of game. So now Calgary Flames are now down 5-on-3, when technicality they wouldn't have been in that position had they gotten that first call right? I mean, it's the same thing in this one. You better be sure you get that call right, or else that second one is going to be under a microscope. So that's my take on it. Your thoughts on the new rule so far, because people have been talking about it. The moment you get one, that's it. You can't get another one or else you're out of the game.
Now, you've essentially created the yellow card, red card system from soccer and put it into Canadian football. Anytime the official believes there's an infraction, you could get a yellow card and then you play the rest of the game. And if you get another yellow card, that's it, red card, and you're out. That's what I see. And it comes down to judgment. I don't know if I have a problem with the rule so much as how it's going to be implemented, because it all becomes judgment now. It just, like you said, it becomes down to the judgment of the official, what's going to happen. And unlike a game like soccer where it could be emotional, but it's not played on raw emotions, like maybe football is a little more played just on raw emotions. And to implement a rule like that, you're almost taking the emotion out of the football game, because now that when a player essentially gets that yellow card now, he knows he has to dial back his play, and how many players will be affected by that because they are not going to play on the edge anymore because they're too afraid to get ejected out of the game now. So, I mean, it would be better if it wasn't a straight ejection opposed to some form of penalty, more like a stronger penalty. Like, I know 15 is the most you're going to get, and that's what you get for an unsportsmanlike anyways. Maybe on the next kickoff, I don't know where you could put that extra penalty. I mean, I don't think you're going to create a 20-yard penalty just for that infraction. I don't even know if that's, opening Pandora's box if you start creating a new penalty or something like that. But you made the hockey reference as well, and I believe it exists in hockey already. If you get 2 ejections from the face-off circle, you get a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
And who decides if you should get ejected from the face-off circle? Because as soon as a player gets ejected out of the face-off circle, the crowd starts booing because it's like, drop the effing puck, don't kick him out of the face. Like, so it essentially already exists in the NHL, where a ref can make the judgment call twice, kick guys out of the same face-off circle, and now you're killing 2 minutes because you won't drop the goddamn puck, right?
Yeah.
So I don't like the straight ejection part. It's something to build on. I wish there had been more work on it. And if it's altered for 2023, I would like to see that, because you do need to get rid of some of the junk in football that makes it very bad. So you don't have guys ripping guys' helmets off and throwing them down field, a la
AJ Gas.
AJ Gas against the Stampeder. That stuff is obviously clear-cut, unsportsmanlike. But yeah, coming up from a pile and giving some pushing and shoving where the emotion is taking over costs you a player. This one, this conversation isn't open and closed, and it's not clear-cut. It's good or bad. There's good elements to it. The intention is good. I think there's execution problems right now, and it's definitely something the CFL should revisit in the offseason.
Yeah, there we go. Now, the good thing is, you said playing on the edge, is that this is just for after the whistle stuff, like pushing and shoving and what have you. But the point still remains. You better be sure of that first one or that second one, which could be clear and cut. Doesn't matter if that is up to interpretation, that first one, you better be sure about it. That'll do it for a 3 Down Hot Takes, again sponsored by cgiant.ca. Enter the promo code Rouge for discounts on sporting events or any tickets in your area. Let's get to the week 3 preview, which is the reason why we have a show, is to predict and make sure that we are smart. A little bit focused before we get on that one, just focus on the Canadian Football Podcast Fantasy League. I have had my first L in the league, losing close. It was close to Adam Stewart of the football or the Canadian Football Countdown show. Next week, I actually face his co-host Ryan Cooper, or Ryan Coop of the same Canadian Football Podcast or Canadian Football Countdown podcast. Looking forward to that. My strategy is actually wait until Thursday to dress my lineup, because I made some adjustments. I started, dressed, what have you, and then I just found out, okay, it looks like that they're going to go another way, and I'm like, oh my god, that is just unbelievable. So pay a little bit of attention to the injury reports, Dalts. That's my thought about that one. Let's get to week 3 predictions, and this is sponsored by manscaped.com. Enter Rouge at manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping. You have the right tools with Manscaped. Tony, week 1 starts off with let's get to the week 3 here on the schedule here, because the CFL, I opened it up automatically, already set it up for week 2. And I'm like, no, we already talked about that one. Saskatchewan Roughriders in Montreal on Thursday. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are Montreal's not becoming the team I hope they did. And there's some good, I don't even know if there was a lot you could say was optimistic about what we saw in Montreal. They were playing the Toronto Argonauts, and you take that with a grain of salt. I mean, even though Toronto has somehow been one of the best teams in the East the last 2 seasons, like with having Hamilton in there, the fact that Toronto has been pretty close to the Tiger Cats with last season, even in a shortened season, and coming to this one, Montreal just is not living up to what I wanted them to be, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen. They have that great owner there that's trying to bombard social media with as much him content as he can. He's obviously trying to be a character, which is fine. He can do that, but it clearly is not giving tons of results yet on the field for the Montreal Alouettes. And again, how quickly they pulled Vernon Adams Jr., someone I am very high on. Like, I don't know what's happening there. It seems like an odd move for Kahari Jones, who I think is a very respectable coach and has done a very respectable job in his time in Montreal. And should that end, I don't think he's going to have any problem finding another job down the road when a coach inevitably gets fired.
Or leaves, Chris Jones.
Yeah. When Chris Jones packs up. But Saskatchewan is definitely a strong enough team. I don't think they've shown anything. My preseason prediction from them is they're going to win their games. They are going to play good football. They're going to eke out some wins. They're going to dominate some games. They're going to beat every team at least once, I think. And Montreal at this point doesn't match up with what Saskatchewan offers on any side of the football, especially not the kicking game or their special teams, field goal kicking, to say the least. So, I mean, 27-17 is what I'm going to give this one, because I still think there's a possibility Montreal will put points on. And there's definitely, after watching Saskatchewan play Edmonton, they do give up points. Maybe not a ton of, obviously not a ton of them. I'm giving them 17 points on this day for the Alouettes. But overall, it should be a pretty comfortable win for Saskatchewan, even if Montreal manages to hang around for the first couple of quarters. It'll eventually be Saskatchewan's football game.
My head and my heart says Saskatchewan. It really does. They haven't done anything in this season yet that leads me to believe that this should be close. But the only thing that I can say is defensively, I think Saskatchewan will keep Trevor Harris in check and probably maybe even bring back Vernon Adams Jr. for maybe a semblance of a comeback. Montreal's defense, though, might be able to give Cody Fajardo some fits. And we always say that late night in Montreal seems to be it takes out the best of certain teams. My gut says take Montreal, but as we can go back and on camera, if you could see it, I have it circled. Saskatchewan over Montreal. That's part of my preseason predictions. I'm going to stick with that one. Nothing has led me astray to lead me to believe that can happen. I'm going to say Saskatchewan. I think Montreal makes it close because it's in Montreal, but I think Saskatchewan still wins it. I'm going to go with a 26-20 Saskatchewan victory. Next one is the Hamilton Tiger Cats going into IG Field to play. It's a rematch of the back-to-back Grey Cup matches. The Hamilton Tiger Cats to face the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. On this one, I am going to think that it's a whiteout thing, and yes, there comes a 5-year-old back in there. Okay, so she's partly on screen right now. It's a new co-host. It's a whiteout. So if you've really, really loved what Winnipeg Jets did with their whiteout in the Stanley Cup, you're really going to love this one. 28,000 people. Just having a good time. You can only actually get this kind of entertainment if you're watching it on YouTube right now. At this point, I saw what Hamilton was able to do, or what not lack of able to do with Calgary, with with what Winnipeg was doing with Ottawa. Is Ottawa the good team? Is Ottawa the team that we hope that they have been? Well, I think we're going to find this out a little bit now. Winnipeg, they had this back-to-back with Ottawa, who's somehow going to be a good team. With Hamilton, I think they're in desperation mode. I just don't think that they're a confident bunch like I thought that they were going to be. So at the end of the day, I think Winnipeg comes back to be a semblance of what they were last year. They're not dominant, but they're still scary and dangerous. And I think Winnipeg wins this one. I'm going to say 32. I'm going to say 32-20. Give Hamilton double digits or at least scoring 20 points. Tony, what say you?
For me, this is one of those games where you would assume I want to talk about the Tiger Cats again because I don't have very high expectations for them. I think this season is going to be the decline of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. But I'm actually going to make this more about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers just because I think there's not red flags going up in Winnipeg, but there's yellow flags. There's cautions everywhere on this Winnipeg Blue Bombers team right now. A little bit of a slow start. And against an opponent like the Ottawa Red Blacks, where we were expecting it, week one could be something. Week two didn't really come back and show the Winnipeg Blue Bombers bouncing back too much. And this feels like one of those games that screams Winnipeg finally comes out of the gate, shows what they have because they're playing a weak East team. They are at home. They have to win. This one feels like it sets up one for the Bombers to fall and two to give that false sense of security for the Tiger Cats, for fans to say, see, everything's okay. We got upset too early. It was 0-2, but we're back on the board now. And I feel this is going to be a red herring game for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, but unfortunately a wake-up call for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So in this one, I think I'm going to call an upset. I think Hamilton's going to go into Winnipeg. They're going to shock them a little bit. They're going to scare them. And then that's when I think we see Winnipeg wake up and say, okay, they're going to start bragging that they got their revenge. They got their, despite the fact that they have no Grey Cup to show for it. This is the game where they're going to start bragging. They're going to say, see, Winnipeg, we can get you. We're going to get you. There's no three in a row. The road to the Grey Cup comes through us. It feels like this game is headed straight for that. So 27-21, I'm going to take the Tiger Cats to pick up their first win.
2021, the Hamilton Tiger Cats started 0-2. They got their first win in their third game, but they had the bye in week 3, so they got it the week 4. So there is a precedence set up for the Hamilton Tiger Cats when it comes to starting 0-2. So this will be interesting. Okay, so now I've got to go back to CFL.ca to figure out the next game. Battle of Alberta. And Tony,
before Labor Day is a crime.
Yeah, and you got enough of it in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, but here's the football version. The Edmonton Elks are in McMahon to play the Calgary Stampeders. Your thoughts on this one?
I think this will be a close one. I think we all want, like, Stampeders fans want to believe Bo Levi Mitchell is back. And I think last weekend, there was two types of Stampeders fans. Well, there was one type of Stampeder fan, the one that wanted Bo Levi Mitchell to get pulled. But there was two kinds of Stampeders fans on social media, the ones that openly admitted it and the ones that didn't say anything and then went on Twitter and acted like they believed in Bo Levi Mitchell the whole time, which I don't believe anyone that exists watch that game and think, no, I think Bo looks great. He's coming. Like, I have faith. Like, nothing in the last 3 seasons should tell you that about Bo Levi Mitchell. When he gets in that quicksand, he just doesn't pop right back out and recover. So if Bo Levi Mitchell is back, it's going to be a progression. It's not going to be 2 questionable seasons in 2 weeks, and then finally, boom, Bo Levi Mitchell is the number 1 quarterback in the Canadian Football League, undisputed. So they don't have the defense they used to. They still love to give up points. They love to give up touchdowns. They love to make stupid plays like going deep with 2 minutes left in a football game when you absolutely have no logical reason to be trying to get 30 yards when you have 2 minutes to move a football. And it's not new for Calgary. This feels like something that happens, whether I've harped on it on this show or not. It seems like it has been the bane of my existence. I don't know if there's a Stampeder fan out there that'll agree with me, but these horrible going deep on first down with 4 minutes left in a football game that you only trail by 3 points, 5 points, whatever it is, and suddenly you feel like you got to get all 40 yards on one play. It's just, I don't know if it's Dave Dickinson making this call. I don't know if it's Bo Levi Mitchell doing it on its own. I don't know if it's Dave telling Bo, if you see it, try it. But whatever it is, it needs to stop, or it just needs to be used more intelligently during a football game, because it's going to cost them outright a football game. So Edmonton is bad, though, so I'm not too concerned about it. I mean, Lawler had a great catch in the end zone against Saskatchewan, and that's about the most exciting thing I remember from the Elks in that football game. But again, because Bo loves to throw interceptions, he's like Danny McManus. And actually, this is a quote from my wife. This isn't mine. This isn't a Tony original. This was my wife. I remember her telling me this. The best thing about playing Danny McManus is if it's the fourth quarter and he hasn't thrown an interception yet, you're happy because he's going to throw an interception, because he can't go a game without throwing interceptions. And I feel like Bo Levi Mitchell is entering that Danny McManus territory, that if you get late enough in a game and Bo Levi Mitchell hasn't thrown an interception yet, it is coming, because Bo Levi Mitchell cannot go through a football game without throwing an interception. Based on you're not up against the same Calgary defense anymore. And I think there's a lot of people, Stampeders fans specifically, that need to start accepting this. We don't have that defense anymore. They're going to give up points, but I think the Stampeders still come away in a close one. That's going to be the story of the Stampeders season, winning close ones. They'll hold out for a 23-21 win.
2 straight games where the Calgary Stampeders have allowed 24 points in the first half. That's you can't. I mean, you almost kind of consider them lucky to come back with a W on both games. They might get a W on this. I think that streak ends, but wouldn't it be funny if Edmonton comes out and scores 24 in the first half, and if that happens, that's going to be all the points that they get, because I don't anticipate Edmonton having the offensive structure to penetrate Calgary's defense. I mean, Calgary's defense, as you talked about, hasn't been high and mighty. I mean, they can progress to that, to be high and mighty eventually, but I just don't see it at this time. But right now, Calgary, I mean, it's a momentum thing, right? I mean, what better way? I mean, or it could be an emotional roller coaster for them, right? Where they come out, hey, we just scored, we came back, scored 33, outscored Hamilton 33-6 in 2 quarters in overtime, and we're on this high, and we got Edmonton who's 0-2. We're gonna kick their ass, and we're on home, and then right, just kind of like a proverbial fart, after there's a letdown. But I Calgary's the type of organization that they probably don't let it get that bad, but it might get bad before it gets better. I think Calgary wins this one, but I think it's more of a fact that I think Edmonton kind of does something stupid in the third or fourth quarter that allows Calgary to take advantage of it. I think Calgary wins this one 20. You know what? I'm going to give them above 30. I'll say 32-19. And on that note, we were talking about Bo Levi Mitchell. Someone got me to go down the rabbit hole of Bo Levi Mitchell stats. You may not like this one, but since the beginning of 2019, and I'm considering all current starters. So this is Bo Levi Mitchell, Nick Arbuckle. I've tossed Nathan Rourke out of this one because he just was barely there in 2021. Cody Fajardo, Zach Collaros, Vernon Adams Jr., Jeremiah Mazzoli, and Dane Evans, and McLeod Bethel Thompson. Out of 8 players Bo Levi Mitchell sits 7th in completion percentage out of all those 8 since 2019, and I'm counting the first 2 weeks of 2022. He sits 3rd in yards thrown, 1st in interceptions. And it's funny you mentioned that comparison to Danny McManus. He's thrown more interceptions than any starting quarterback currently since the beginning of 2019, and he's 7th in a TD to interception ratio. The one behind that one is Nick Arbuckle. So if you're just ahead of Nick Arbuckle, you're not doing good. I just had to get off of one because I thought it was crazy. I had him pegged as a middle of the pack of all those stats, considering everything that's gone through. I had no idea it just got that bad for Bo Levi Mitchell. And I also like the comparison to Danny McManus for Bo Levi Mitchell. Bo Levi Mitchell doesn't like to run. Danny McManus just couldn't run.
Physically was not able to, I don't think.
Yeah, I think he packed on an extra couple of pounds after the 2002 season. He looked a little Danny McHeftiness or something like that.
Sometimes he looked like he had like 2 flat jackets on under there. He's like, by the end of his career, he just looked like a ham with the strings wrapped around it. And
yes. Last game of the week, and this is the game of teams coming off a bye. The BC Lions coming off a bye, and the Toronto Argonauts coming off a bye. This one is in BC. The Toronto Argonauts going into BC Place. I got to take a look to see where I had. I got to show you on the camera to proof, because I always love to have proof of this. I have BC winning this one, and you can put it up there. I don't know if you can see it.
I don't know. Yeah, sure. We see lots.
It's up there.
Okay, good.
I think there. Yeah. It's somewhere there. You can screen grab it if you want.
We believe you.
Teams from the East Coast going all the way to the West Coast, it just doesn't add up to well unless BC has a horrible team. And you said that BC is going to be a terrible football team. Granted, they were playing Edmonton, but there is a reason for hope in BC. I think this one's going to be a lot closer than that game with the Elks and the Lions. But I think it's just going to be more the jet lag or the time, time difference messing with them. But I think, one team coming off a bye, one team just coming off a luck victory off a kicker missing a short field goal. There's just, who knows what the status of Andrew Harris, if he can go, what's going to happen with him. I didn't like Toronto's offense last week, and I really loved BC's offense the week before that one. But sometimes when you have these teams, you have these home openers, you get that emotional roller coaster going, that emotional high, and sometimes you get back to reality. I'm still going to go with the BC win because I predicted it. Toronto, I still don't see them as a good team. Going out to the West Coast is not matching up with them. I think BC wins this 20-16. What do you think?
I want to ride the BC momentum. They're at home again, and hopefully that amazing owner they have there has another big night planned for them. I think that's what you've got to do. Entertain the fans, give them a reason to show up and a reason to have fun, turn it in to an event for the whole family to go to, for people to have fun at. And just watching that BC team, they were fun to watch. Like, this is the opposite of the BC team I predicted. And it's good to have our preseason predictions, but we have nothing to go on. I had nothing to go on the BC Lions except what I saw them do in the offseason. I stand behind the 1-17 prediction because that was the BC Lions team that was built. They have their one win, and I just don't see a BC Lions. Like, there was enough to want to push to see more of that from the Lions. Like, it was a fun team to watch. Yes, you've got to take their opponent into consideration because it was not difficult for them to do much. And preseason or my off-season predictions on the schedule, like you're showing, I have to alter them based on what's happening, not what I thought was going to happen with what they have. I've got to look at the now, and I see a BC Lions team that 2 weeks in a row has a chance to build on the fun and the momentum they have, and definitely looked better than the Toronto Argonauts that took on the Montreal Alouettes last weekend. I don't think the Homer McLeod-Thompson magic is going to work this time. And honestly, that missed field goal was about as Homer McLeod-Thompson versus Frank Grimes you're going to get in all of my Simpson references regarding that episode of the show. And I just don't think Homer's magic's going to run out or is going to rub off on this one. I'm picking BC to win 28-17.
Okay. All right. There we go. So we're other than the Winnipeg Hamilton game, we seem to be on the same wavelength. So one of us is going to go 3-1, and one of us is going to go 4-0. So it will be interesting to see which one we'll do. That'll wrap it up for episode 439. Again, this is powered by the Canadian Football Podcast Network. Again, you could reach us through on Twitter at Rouge Radio on Twitter. Of course, you can actually find us each individual. If you're watching this, you can actually get our Twitter handles at Rouge Dalts, at Tony Rouge for Tony. Send an email to us at thenewrouge@gmail.com. And of course, you can get all this content, all the video content on our YouTube page. Just search up Rouge Radio Podcast through the YouTube search engine. Tony, any final thoughts before we head out?
Nope. I just wanted a Mandalorian drop. There's a little child for you, a little bit of Grogu, a little bit of Mandalorian. I love that show. I'm already excited for it to come back in the fall. I saw a release date. I'm a big Star Wars guy. I'm pretty sure I bring it up ad nauseum on here how much I love Star Wars, and just wanted to give a little love to the Mando, my favorite thing in the world right now.
Soon to be deputy mayor in the city of Tabor, the Mando, right? Yep. Speaking of name drop, I'll just drop my little gray cup ring.
Look at this.
Yeah, there we go.
Nice.
Not that I earned it or anything. I mean, I did it on the tails of a dominating defense, but again, that'll do it for
your own Winnipeg.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Just as we're wrapping up, just a nice little shot at Winnipeg. There, I see how it is. That'll wrap it up for episode 439. For Tony, I'm Dalts. Thanks for listening and watching, and we will see and talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.